Yeah, you know what it is. Another episode of the Miller Experience Overtime. I appreciate you guys liking and subscribing to the channel. I'm your host, Xcalibur. We got my man Craig and Victor, and also we got a special guest today, Amber Lydford, right?
That'll work.
All right, that'll work. All right. Hey, hold on. Before I get started, I just want to thank everybody for liking and subscribing to the channel. We currently at 716 subs. Y'all know what the goal is. At least by January, we need 1,000. So keep liking, keep commenting, keep sharing, keep telling your friends, tell your grandma, tell your sister, your brother, your dog, your cat, whoever. Watch the Miller Experience. Really appreciate you guys. Now, before we get started with our special guest, I just want to say something real quick. Amber, just bear with me because it's off topic right here, sports related.
That's okay.
No, I ain't talking about the Cowboys, Craig. I'm not even wasting my precious air that God gave me to talk about your Cowboys right now.
I was just wishing I was invisible. Back
in September, man, you know, I dogged out my boy Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffs. I stated that they was only going to win 2 games the season. I apologize.
Eat those words.
Yeah, I apologize to Deion and the Colorado
Buffs. I say that because I think I said it as well.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
you did.
And I agree with y'all. So
we all apologize, Deion. You guys doing your thing. You guys are 8-2. Hopefully, you guys win your last 2 games of the season, make it to the Big 12 championship game, and we'll move on to the playoffs. We're rooting for you, and also Travis Hunter for Heisman.
Yeah.
If Travis Hunter does not win Heisman, we're going to do January 6th to the NCAA.
Hey, I'm just
playing, but seriously, Travis Hunter for Heisman. All right, guys, let's move on, man. Our special guest tonight, Amber Lydford was South Carolina. What is it? Go ahead, Amber. I'm sorry. I lost track. I was talking about Deion. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So South Carolina Vocational Rehabilitation.
There you go.
So I am a nationally certified community work incentive coordinator. And what I do, and actually I'm going into my 11th year, and what I do is I work with individuals who receive Social Security benefits, learn how working may impact the benefits that they're getting. I dispel the common myths of working while receiving Social Security because I hear it too many times. I can't go to work because I get a check. If I go to work, then Social Security is going to find me no longer disabled. I'm going to lose my medical insurance. It took me forever to get the check. I don't want to lose the check. And so what I have done is I have actually come in as part of my job. And when we get referrals into Voc Rehab, and I cover the Midlands, so I'm not just bound to one office every single day. I travel. I am a team of five wonderful ladies who also cover different parts of the state as well. And we put their minds at ease, you know, so there's a lot of people, parents of dependent children, parents of young adults, teenagers. And I always say the youth is our retirement, right? Like the more that the youth go to work, the more that we're going to continue to fund the retirement fund. It's not just about us putting money into the Social Security. It's everybody. And when you have parents who are refusing or not wanting their young adult or teenager to go to work because they're getting the check or because of stigmas and myths, I'm like, hold up, you know, stop, because that's not true. So SSI, supplemental security income, that's basically what we call the welfare check of Social Security, because it is for individuals who are either 65, age, disabled or blind, 65, never worked a day in their life. Now they're getting SSI because of age, or they're younger, don't have enough work credits or quarters had put into Social Security, and they meet the disability criteria. The max amount an individual can get in 2024 is $943. Can you live off of that?
No, God, no.
940, exactly. Now SSI, you automatically.
That's a month?
Huh?
That's a month?
A month. No. $943 a month is the max an individual will receive on SSI. And again, that's supplemental security income. It's income based. Okay. So it's like your SNAP benefits, your housing, any income you earn, it's going to fluctuate, but it's not dollar for dollar. And that's where people don't realize. So in order for them to not get an SSI check at all, they would have to gross $1,971. So if I'm making $1,971 and I can keep my Medicaid, this is where the light bulb goes off. This is where we start telling people like, hey, you can go to work, you can make more money, keep your Medicaid. I'm going to do one even better for y'all. In South Carolina, we actually did something right. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, surprise. Medicaid, we have a Medicaid buy-in category called Working Disabled Medicaid. And it's for folks who are under the age of 65. They have a disability according to the Social Security's rules and regulations, and they're working, hence the title Working Disabled. These folks can make up to $75,000 a year and keep their Medicaid.
Wow.
You can't even make that and get Medicaid, okay?
Yeah.
So when people come to me and they say, my concern is my Medicaid, I don't even care about this $900 check. What's going to happen to my Medicaid?
Yeah.
I can give them this information and say, your Medicaid is fine. Now, how can we get you to work? Right. And then, making sure that they're reporting wages on time to Social Security. The last thing they want to deal with is an overpayment. Now, SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. Notice that the I's are different. You have income for one and insurance for the other. Mm-hmm. Insurance means it's an insured benefit. It's been paid into by you, the individual, your spouse, so you could have disabled widowers benefits, or a parent. So, we have kids, right? You and I both, we have minor kids. Mm-hmm. So let's say, heaven forbid, something was to happen to one of us. We're working individuals. We paid in. Our children would receive a benefit off of us with no questions asked as a dependent minor. Now, the disability part comes in is if their disability occurred before the age of 22, they can continue that benefit off of our work record as an adult, which also means Medicare comes 2 years later. See, I have people tell me I can't get Medicare. I'm not 65. So if you're getting Social Security Disability Insurance, whether it's off your own work record or the record of a parent or a spouse, you are entitled to Medicare 2 years later, unless it's Lou Gehrig's disease or end-stage renal failure. Those are automatic guarantees for Medicare right away. So with SSDI, different amounts can range. You could get both SSI and SSDI if your SSDI check is lower. You get both, but the combined income is still only $963, so you still can't live off of that.
Right.
Here's kicker comes in. Our SSDI folks this year can make $1,550 a month in gross wages and maintain the full disability check. It's not calculated. It's all or nothing. So if I'm getting $2,000 a month in disability because, let's say, I worked in the medical field and then got injured and I'm getting $2,000 a month, I can make an additional $1,500 on top of that and keep my Medicare and my disability check. I won't get Medicaid because my disability check is too high. But the fear has always been, the stigma's always been, I can't work. They're going to stop my check. I can't do this because of this guaranteed money coming in. And then they limit themselves. And I am a firm believer that a piece of paper doesn't define who you are. You are that definition of yourself.
Yeah.
That paper is there more for medical professionals and educators to learn how to work best for you or with you to give you a great quality of life. Yeah. So, I mean, my goal is to try to educate more. And I say this all the time, even on social media, motivate, inspire, and educate. Be that person. I had a client tell me, and it constantly runs through my mind, be the change and make the change, and vice versa. Make the change and be the change.
I say that all the time. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Make the change and be the change. And it's got to
let me ask you this question. SNAP benefits, that's a form of food stamps, right? That's food stamps, right?
Correct.
Let me ask you a question. I always wonder this, and I guess you could be the right person to answer this for me. Like my mother, she's in a nursing home at this time, but when she been on disability, man, since I've been in middle school, man. And I guess once I graduated from high school, went to college and everything, I guess her SNAP benefits was lower, but she can't work. She's legally blind. She's paralyzed. She cannot work. And I mean, her food stamps are like $29.
It's sad.
A month. And I see people that got kids out the woo-ha. Mm-hmm. And they got to get like $600 a month, $700 worth of. Help me make sense of this. Someone that can perfectly work, get this much money in food stamps versus someone that can't work because they have a physically disability. They cannot work. And only get $29 for food. Help me make this make sense to me.
The only thing that I can, because actually, ironically, we actually have a team member who used to be a SNAP supervisor for years. And some of the things that we've been told is a lot of it boils down to household size, income. Of course, income is a big factor. So depending on how much the disability check is and the requirements. So if that, like you said, I think, is she still in a nursing home?
Yeah, she's been in nursing home for about a year now. So
whatever their contribution, like if they're contributing towards, like her food and stuff, then they take that into consideration. Whatever her housing expenses are, I know that they take that into consideration. But I see it all the time too. When I'm meeting with clients and I'm like, well, how much are you getting in SNAP? Because we have to talk about how income, I think it's like every $3, you lose $1 of SNAP benefits for every $3 you make. I think that's the general calculation. But, and they're telling me, a couple $100, and a lot of times it's because they had the minor kids or they're still counting the young adult under 22 as part of the household. Now, see, when the individual turns 22, here's the other interesting factor. You can sign up for the military and you can smoke at 18, you can drink at 21, but you can't apply food stamps under your own household or as your own individual until you're 22. You're not considered an adult in the eyes of SNAP until you're 22. So a lot of these households who had kids 21 and younger can put them on one household application and they're going to get $1,900. And if you have a minor child, you're not considered able-bodied according to like the SNAP regs, something along those lines, because I've been reading along where you'll get the benefits for so long, but then you have to prove that you're looking for work and all of that, like those regulations, unless you have a minor child and you're the main caretaker of that child. I get it. Childcare is expensive. We all understand that. At the same time, if there's ways that you can accommodate instead of trying to just live off the system.
I agree.
One question.
Yeah.
And it's twofold. Okay, we know that inflation is down, and we know that that's going to affect COLA. Okay, what about the new administration coming in? Because as you know, they're not too fond of Social Security. That's
our fear. So if you try to call the local Social Security offices right now, you are not getting through. I will call, I just tried calling today for somebody because he has an overpayment. That's definitely not his fault. I've helped this individual report wages for the last several years. We know he wasn't making too much. He gets SSDI. So we've always made sure that he was under that threshold for the year, whatever that monthly threshold was. Baltimore made a mistake. So we tried calling and they would I always tell clients, like, if you can call at 9:05 because they open their phone lines at 9, call at 9:05 in the morning, you're likely to get through. That's not the case anymore because they're so understaffed. You got the Sumter Social Security office right now that I've been informed doesn't even have a general manager at the moment. They're so afraid of losing those federal benefits, like the benefits that they've worked so hard for, that they are taking their retirement now. You've got veteran Social Security employees who, I've had to educate them on some of their own things. That's just what I do, unfortunately, but that are leaving. And so there's been times that I'd call the Sumter Social Security office and I'd get routed to Bennettsville or Florence or Beaufort. And that individual can't even help me because the case I'm calling about, they can give me general information, but then they're like, well, you need to go to your local office for that. And then I have folks that are going to their local offices and it's a 4-hour wait. So I was even asked today by a coworker, he's working with somebody with VA, and the individual has a slew of medical issues going on. And he said, do you have a way, like, is there a law person you can contact to help him with the application? Because we're not, due to liability and ethical standards, we don't do Social Security applications because it needs to be their verbiage, their words, like their background. We don't want to feel like we're actually persuading them into saying something that's not true. So we give them the guidance on how to fill out the applications. I guide individuals to Social Security actually has a website called Adult Listings of Impairments that they can look up their category of their disability and see what the criteria is. But I was like, he'd have to call the 1-866 number. Don't call the 1-800 number, like that one that you see on TV all the time, 1-800-772-1213. Do not call that number because you're going to be on hold just as long, if not hung up on. So I always say call the local office. But now it's like, if you call the local office, I get all lines are currently busy. Please try again later. Hang up, call back. And we thought we were finally getting through today because it started to finally put the music on and like we were waiting for somebody to answer the phone. And then it would ring a couple of times. And then it was a guy came on, like the automated voice. All lines are currently busy. Please call again later. And so now it's like we're having to guide our folks to the actual Social Security office to sit there and wait. Because, yes, this current administration coming in, unfortunately, has scared the bejesus out of everybody. Like, it's so unknown right now what's going to happen with government employees, with federal employees. U.S., look at our postal service right now. Our mail's coming late because postal workers are down.
Yeah, you ain't lying. I was just telling my wife that. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, they took a lot of money away from the postal service.
Yeah.
the previous administration.
Yeah.
So,
well, and then with this COLA, you were talking about COLA. We know it's only I think a 2.5% increase, and so like all of the new numbers went out. So like our folks next year can make 1620 instead of 1550. SSI is going up to 967 from 943. But again, who can still live off of 967, right? But then you turn around and Medicare is going from 174 to 190. So those that don't qualify for Medicaid to pay the Part B premium, if your disability check is low enough and you're getting Medicare, you could apply for Medicaid, and Medicaid will pay that Part B premium. So it puts that 174, or like next year will be 190 back in the disability check, which is awesome. It's great. So because and I was telling them like if I can help you, like I do Medicaid applications, so I'm able to look at their income amount and everything and their resources, and do the Medicaid applications with them and see if they can get Medicaid applications are getting processed a lot faster than Social Security. How about that one? Social Security is 1.5 years behind. Right now, Social Security is actually filling, starting claims that were processed, or I'm sorry, people that applied last year in March are just now getting worked on. So March of 2023, that's how far behind they are. You have more claims coming in than you have examiners in the office, to the point to where they're actually having to contract out to different states to do the medical reviews or the medical claims, or medical, like getting medical records and reviewing these claims. And then I already know of a few people that have been denied after waiting 2 years because they're not disabled enough according to Social Security's rules. And I'm like, wait a minute, halt. Let's look at the adult license of impairment. You clearly meet the criteria. So now guess what's happening? Now they're having to do an appeal. Well, appeals are taking just as long because you got the ALJ judge and you have these judges that are behind. Some attorneys are overwhelmed. Some attorneys are like, try to do the appeal the first time yourself. And then if you're denied a second time, then we'll take your case, because they already know they're so far behind, and attorneys need to get paid, but they're not going to get paid if it's going to take 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen in 2 years? I actually just got a call the other day. I was talking with somebody whose son is in another county, and her attorney was in a car accident and is out of the office for a couple of months, and he did not give the case file to anybody else to work on the appeal. So it's a big messy situation right now with Social Security, that those that are currently at least getting the benefits, we're like, look, let's see what we can do to get you to work. And then we get those people that are like, well, I can't wait and not have any money. Can I do some work while awaiting approval? As long as they have not been told legally that they're not able to, because if an attorney says don't work at all while awaiting approval, like maybe they went through an attorney for the very initial phase anyway, then if an attorney comes in and says don't work while awaiting approval, I can't touch that. I got to go based on what an attorney said. But if they're not working with an attorney and they're looking to do some kind of work, they come through vocational rehabilitation, because again, we can assist individuals with any buried employment. Maybe they just got out of prison or some kind of incarceration. They have a disability, regardless if they have mental health. It could be any slew of medical challenges or anything that's a barrier to employment, and they tried, right? And not everybody wants to disclose their condition. I met with a guy today. He's like, I don't want to tell everybody my business. He's like, right. Because, even it's a right to work state. And so they're so afraid of discrimination, even though it may not, even though the employer is going to come out and say that they found somebody more qualified on paper, that's what it's going to look like. But they already know behind in the back of their mind what it really is, right? So we can assist anybody with a barrier to employment generally from 14, 15 years of age all the way up until death. Like there's no age limit really with voc rehab to assist them in finding employment. So a lot of times they say, well, can I do any kind of work? And I'll talk with them about like what's their limit on what they could earn while awaiting approval, because you don't want to make too much. Because if you're making anywhere like the $1,500 amount. So I said right now our SSDI folks can make $1,550, right? That in Social Security's language is called substantial gainful activity. If you are gainfully employed at the time of application and the time of approval, no matter how severe your disability is, Social Security is going to say you're making too much money. We cannot approve your claim. Okay. So you don't want to be near that. But again, who can even live off of $1,000 a month right now? It's such a tight world that we live in. And that's why even the homeless population continues to grow and increase. I work with the homeless out in Columbia. I've been to the transition shelter, and I've worked with individuals out there who it still takes them a while to even get on Social Security. That's why I'm grateful for organizations or for like SOAR. Our mental health folks can get certified through SOAR, which is a chapter or a certification to do like Social Security applications and a way to maybe process it a little bit faster for those specifically in our homeless population. But yeah.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 41 years old. Realistically, in your opinion, your professional opinion, by the time I'm eligible for Social Security, do you think that will be available? Because based on what you saying right now, I ain't too confident in it.
That's our biggest fear with this new administration coming in is that slash is going to be depleted.
When you think about AI taking a lot of jobs, there's so many factors, so many variables.
Yeah.
The question I had was in some states like Virginia, say someone is incarcerated and they get out, they automatically get Medicare until they get a job, so forth and so on. In the state of South Carolina, they don't offer that unless you have a disability and can prove it and get Social Security and disability. Yeah.
Or unless you have so there's low income family, which you are a single individual with a minor child, and very low income, and I think that's like 800 or less. Or you are a married couple with very low income, like limited to nothing, right? I'm from upstate New York, and I've been down here. Actually, I moved down here for this job almost 11 years ago, and that was one of the biggest eye openers. I said, "Are you kidding me? Like, are you really?" I mean, anywhere from car insurance to health insurance, like what is going on in South Carolina? Because it's more than New York.
Upstate New York,
Yeah.
Corning,
Wow.
Elmira, Watkins Glen.
Elmira, how did you know? Elmira, Corning. I was born and raised. I'm going back up there this weekend.
Okay.
Okay, I got a question, and when you talking about this, I'm just, do you find a lot of or more people just being frustrated to a point that just because the way you're talking about when talking about this a year before your case even heard, and then appeal another 2 years, it sounds some people get so frustrated they don't even want to deal with it at all.
Yeah.
Yes, that has happened. No, that's absolutely happened to the point where
I think that's the plan.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's actually what's happened is that I've had some people who have said, well, forget it, I'm not going to continue with it. It's taking too long. They'll get on to their SSA. So my SSA, SSA.gov, you can like create your own SSA account. So I always tell all my clients this before they even go through the application process. I say, listen, if you know that you have a working history and then you're not just able to go back to that job, first and foremost, Social Security is going to look at your age as a factor and can you get retrained? My husband, who is now 43, had a severe back injury when we were up in New York based on the job he was working at. And I applied him for Social Security at 29 before I even knew all of the ins and outs of what I know now. And he was denied because they said he could get retrained. Now that man has only ever worked in a manufacturing plant. He said, do not put me behind a desk. I will fall asleep. So he went through it's a vocational rehabilitation program up north that's similar down here, but they were such idiots. They knew he had a back condition and they got him a job working in a warehouse on concrete floors with steel boots. Wow. I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm not doing that. So he just went through all the physical therapy that he could, that he went through to get back. He was actually, now that you know the area, Craig, Kennedy Valve is where he worked.
Okay.
Before we moved down here. Now he's at Continental, but I didn't know about the denials and how they choose denials or how somebody's denied when you have like an L4, L5, degenerative disc disease and can't really move, can't go back to doing the kind of work that you used to do. But based on age, you can get retrained and reeducated. So like somebody who has a master's degree, they may not be able to go back to doing the work that they used to do. But somebody who only has a high school diploma, they're like, hey, you can get retrained into something else. Right. So there's so many different factors that go into play with those denials too. And I had to look at a lot of my clients and say, there's absolutely no way you're going to get approved. So what can we do here at Voc Rehab? And then refer them back to their VR counselor for continued educational support. We do help people go back to school depending on what their level of degree is, how much education do they have. We help, students, college, we help out with, training classes like maybe CNA, I believe, people that may want to start up their own business. We can talk to them about that to see how we can help them maybe become self-employed and have their own business. Because while Social Security is okay. I'm not going to say it's great. It's definitely something to not try and rely on, especially if you're young enough to go back and earn more and put more
Yeah,
in
yeah,
and have a
yeah.
better.
My concern is just the older generation, the people that
Exactly.
actually need it. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah.
This is administrative, make America great again, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't see that, man. All I listen to you talk, and what you saying, all I hear is poverty.
Yeah.
That's all I'm hearing, man. It's scary.
The
Very.
poor is going to fit the bill for the ones that are going to be made more richer, if you
Yeah,
will, wealthier.
yeah,
And that's the way that is. First of all, you don't want people who are in there who are billionaires, because you only got to be a billionaire, most of them, by stepping on the people to get there.
mm-hmm. Oh yeah, most definitely. You ain't no billionaire. You squeaky clean. Trust me. You got a little ruthless in you.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, like I said, I mean, my thing is when I go in and I do these presentations, I've done them. I've done webinars for organizations, Family Connections. I just did one last week on educating parents on what to do when the child turns 18. Because so there's another Medicaid category here for our youth called TEFRA, and that's basically the disability Medicaid without the SSI cash benefit because parental income is too high. My daughter is currently on that Medicaid category. I had to fight for my son. So I know about the appeals process, and it's hard as a parent myself of children with disabilities and having to go in and be that voice for them, but I'll do it till the day I die, you know, and being told, oh, they're not disabled enough, but yet we're struggling with certain challenges and behaviors and lack of resources. So last week, I just did a webinar series or a webinar for Family Connections. And then I did one previously for NAMI. And I do these to educate, again, the community on what to expect. And all of this when it comes into the age 18 redetermination. So you may have a minor child who is receiving SSI because parental income is low. You know, you got a stay-at-home mom, single mom, taking care of, you know, Johnny Smith, who has Down syndrome. Okay. That child is receiving SSI because mom doesn't work. She's not able to because she's taking care of him.
Right.
Okay. So when Johnny turns 18, mom is going to receive documentation from Social Security. And now Social Security is looking at, so under 18, Social Security looks at how does their functional limitations affect their ability to be age appropriate? Like, are they functioning like a 14-year-old, right? Above the age of 18, they're not just looking at functional limitations. They're now also looking at how does your disability affect your ability to work and be gainfully employed. So my background is mental health. I finished with my second master's when the DSM-5 came out in 2013 under the mental health umbrella. Social Security also follows the DSM-5 or the mental health book. And ADHD used to be recognized by Social Security for adults. It is not anymore. It's recognized for children, but not adults, because they're indicating that ADHD, no matter how severe the ADHD is, it can be medicated and they can function and work at a gainful pace. ASD, autism spectrum disorder, used to be called Asperger's or just autism. Now it's called autism spectrum disorder. So it's a spectrum that the individual can fall on. If they're very high functioning, like my 19-year-old, it's a good possibility they're not going to get approved, no matter how severe the behaviors are, because intellectually they're very intelligent and they can go to work, can make good money. But if they're mild or low, they're likely going to get approved because they need supportive services. Bless you. They need constant reminders. They to do household tasks and chores. They can only do so many things at one time. They get overwhelmed easily, overstimulated easily. So I got these parents even of children who on that TEFRA Medicaid. TEFRA goes until the age of 19. Parents don't know Social Security, just because it's an SSI Medicaid, basically, and I say SSI Medicaid because they met the Social Security criteria, right, as a child. But it's not SSI. So I'm getting calls when the now young adult turns 20 or 21. Medicaid stopped. How do I get it back? Did you ever apply them for SSI? No, I did not. Well, that's how you get the Medicaid back. You have to actually go through the Social Security application process when they turn 18, or they'll lose that Medicaid. Now, our folks, we do have some folks that, of course, on Medicaid waivers, our DSN folks, for example, that may be in residential group homes and so forth. Those waivers, a waiver category is different than like SSI Medicaid. That's a completely different umbrella that I don't like to touch on too much because the criteria is so much different. But those that are not on a Medicaid like the IDRD or the home and community-based waiver services through case management services out of disability special needs, like here in Clarendon County, or Sumter County has DSN, Rich Lex is DSN. So the disability special needs waivers, those are different. But if you're only on the TEFRA, otherwise known as a Katie Beckett waiver under 18, then you have to actually go through the application process when they turn 18. And so many parents don't even know that.
So without a waiver, there's no way to grandfather somebody from SSI to, well, as a child to
SSI as an adult?
As an adult.
Not without doing, so they're going to do the redetermination. So age 18 redetermination is pretty much like you're doing the application for them at 18. If they were getting SSI as a child, the redetermination is going to ask them about their medical background, functional limitations. My favorite statement is describe what you do from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. And I always tell everybody, you have to, anybody going through that process, I say write down like your worst day times 7. Seriously, you're walking that examiner through a day in your life. Write out your day in my life. So if you are getting ready to go through the application process, start now, because that document's coming at some point. And they only give you this little box to write in, by the way. So Social Security sends you a packet of information, and they give you this little box that says, describe what you do from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. If you only put in there, I wake up, I take a shower, I make my breakfast, I sit down and watch TV, you ain't disabled according to Social Security because you're doing everyday things. But it takes me 20 to 30 minutes to get out of bed. I had to hold onto the dresser. I have to utilize a shower chair in order to shower. I need my wife or my husband to put on my socks. I need help getting dressed. I need to sit down in between household tasks and chores. You have to walk them through as if they are listening to your life on an audio tape, and they're closing their eyes and they can see it. Because if they can't see it, if they can't visualize it, then you're not disabled according to their rules.
Yeah.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you put on that, you go through an application process, and you put on there, they'll say, do you have any disabilities? And they'll have this list of disabilities. And one of them, for instance, will say diabetes. So you put on there there's a disability, but if you ask Medicaid or Social Security saying it's a disability, it's not a disability.
It is.
Right. But they'll say, oh, you're not disabled enough. Or you understand what I'm saying?
I do. Because they're looking at to see how does your diabetes, again, affect your ability to work and be gainfully employed. Here's another one for you. Let's say you have an amputation. Below the knee is not a qualifying factor, but above the knee is.
Your leg is amputated, man. Like,
I have a friend. His is amputated below the knee, and he's still working.
Yeah, and I don't understand if it's something to do with the limbs or the nerves or what aspect of all that is. And so my daughter, she is bilateral hearing loss, and when we tried applying her for TEFRA the first time, she was initially denied back in 2016, early 2017. This is before we got the official communication disorder that she has now. But they tried telling me because she has one good ear, like she's not disabled according to the rules. She can't hear at all on the right side, which has caused communication challenges and learning issues and cognitive delays. Now, mind you, we worked our hardest to keep her in gen ed classes, but even like her full scale IQ, we just got told by DSN that she was dropped off the waiver waiting list because she doesn't meet the criteria as somebody with an intellectual delay, or she's not like severe enough. And I mean, I could appeal it and do everything like I tell a lot of my other families, but we've been grateful enough to get services and supports for her that I also encourage other families that I talk to get, that I know that she's only 13, almost 14. So by the time she gets 18, she should have that independence that she needs to be able to prayerfully grow out of what she's going through. But it's like, you only need one good ear. Do you want me to look like a monster? Like, what is it? Like the cyclone person, whatever, like that. But tricep, I don't know. Like one good eye. Yeah. One good eye, one good ear. You're not disabled according to their rules.
Cyclops. Yeah.
I'm just like, it's outrageous how they come up with their criteria, because either way, it's a barrier to employment. It can be a huge mental health barrier because appearance, I mean, and then you tie in some of the intellectual delays. They're not, and I always tell a lot of my clients, I say, look, you learning at a different pace, that's fine. We all learn differently. Right. You're better at one thing than I am. It doesn't make you any less of a person at all,
Right.
And so, telling these parents, look, you're going to have to, again, tell your child's worst day times 7. And it's hard. My 19-year-old, I cried in that hearing room because I wrote a 4-page statement going all the way back to when he was 5 about the challenge that I experienced and not thinking about it at that time. And my background's mental health, So as a mom of children with disabilities and as an employee of somebody who's working with individuals with disabilities, families, parents, elders alike, now trying to figure out how can we educate the community on not just the Social Security process. And thank you, Eve, for having me on. I know we've talked a couple of times about doing this because it's like, how can we get the community involved more of one, vocational rehabilitation actually exists. There's an organization out there that can help you find employment so you're not stuck having to live off this check the rest of your life. And 2, what can I do to try to help bring in more income and feel better about myself? I get that. And that's one of the biggest things with a lot of these folks that are even on benefits. You've got people that used to be in the medical field or, they were pharmacists and making $4,000 to $5,000 a month and now only getting about $2,500 a month, if that, in disability. Mm-hmm. And having to adjust their entire life around now this check. And they're like, what can I even do? I don't want to lose it because it is a guaranteed check coming in, but how can I still go to work and have a quality of life and feel better?
Right.
Where Voc Rehab does come into play on that one.
I say for someone who has a life-changing disability, such as type 1 diabetes, mm-hmm. And they're going through mental health issues associated with that, mm-hmm. Trying to cope with it, anxiety, as well as having something like ADHD. Mm-hmm. Those are factors that pretty much a time bomb, if you will. Where can they get the help as it relates to mental health? And how can they apply for something like Social Security?
So they would actually go through their local office. Unfortunately, that's like the way to go. Right now, I'm telling people, look, I don't think you're going to get anywhere on the phone. You're going to have to physically go there as soon as they open those doors at 9:00 in the morning. Be one of the first few maybe in line. Just say, I'm here to schedule an appointment and at least just get the appointment scheduled. They are doing a lot more phone appointments than they are in-person appointments. They can also try to apply online. The online process can be very daunting because it's a lot of looking at a screen, it's typing, it's filling in all the background information. And if you're not careful and don't save it, you're going to have to retype it all over again. The next thing that I oftentimes encourage folks to do is before you go through all of this is to take a look at the adult listings of impairment. So if you Google search SSA, adult listing of impairments, you're going to come up with a link and check out your category. So mental health, for example, is its own category. And you're going to scroll down to the exact diagnosis. So let's say it's depression. You're going to click on depression and you're going to learn about the criteria there. So you're going to look to see exactly what Social Security constitutes as meeting their criteria. Okay. And then below the criteria, there's 4 areas of mental functioning. And these 4 areas of mental functioning, the one thing that Social Security actually did that I don't know if they realized they did it or not was this is a way in how I actually win appeals. Because they specifically put in these criteria, in these 4 areas. One is understanding, remembering, and applying information. And they actually say examples include. So they're actually giving you examples include, can they follow 1 or 2-step instructions? Can they do this? Can they do this? Next one is social skills and social interactions. And the other one is, personal hygiene or something. There's 4 different ones. But in each one of those areas of mental function, they're actually putting the examples of how to meet that area of mental functioning. So exactly. Yeah, it's a blueprint. Exactly. So when somebody's going through this application process, it's unfortunate, I'm having to refer them to the actual local office. I always tell them, I say, look, here's the actual phone number, and to find the local office's phone number of wherever you reside, if you go to ssa.gov, scroll down, find an office, locate by zip code, type in your zip code, and you're going to come up with your local office's phone number, fax number, and address. So I always say, if you call, you press 0 to get to a representative. If you try to first thing in the morning, you may get through to somebody. Now, we may only be experiencing a really big shortage here in South Carolina. I don't know. I'm not sure how other states are right now. I just know here in South Carolina, at least my Columbia and my Sumter offices, they're a very long wait. And it could be, I have a coworker of mine who covers the PD region, and she said that she's tried calling like the Florence office, and she's getting routed to another office. So I don't know, again, it could be statewide, it could be nationwide with a shortage at the moment, but that's where I would go is when they would apply for either mainly in person. I think they're going to get somewhere better if they go in person, even if they have to wait to see somebody. At least they're guaranteed to get an appointment spot. 2, I would also recommend that they have all documentation ready. Mental health services, they can contact their local mental health department and refer themselves. They can have their primary care physician refer them. Maybe their endocrinologist that they're seeing for their diabetes, who's seen a decline in their mental health, can possibly refer them to a local mental health office. If they don't have any insurance, they can always do like a sliding fee scale. A lot of doctors' offices, like, they can't turn you away because you don't have insurance. Like, they can do a sliding fee scale. Medicaid pending. A lot of folks are going to try to apply for Medicaid here in South Carolina while awaiting approval for Social Security. Medicaid has to uphold the federal decision. So if Social Security denies somebody, Medicaid is going to deny you as well, unless you're 65 or blind. So we have a category called age blind or disabled Medicaid here, and age meaning 65 or older. Blind, of course, if you're an individual who's blind, I believe you automatically get that category, or disabled, you've met the disability criteria according to Social Security. So that's kind of where I would go, Craig, is if I would literally go to the local office. At this point in time, with what we're dealing with right now with these Social Security offices, I think they're going to be better off going in person to ask for an appointment. Gather all medical documentation and start journaling that day in my life, the struggles and the challenges that they have as it pertains to their struggle with going to work and maintaining a full-time job.
I think there'll be a lot of people going down to Trump, the new administration.
Yeah.
Hey, 5 more minutes, but I got a question to ask you, and we're gonna move to a lighter subject.
Yeah.
You follow sports?
Huh? You
follow sports?
I do, and I literally think the Cowboys have decided to get that #1 spot over the Giants.
Hold on, I'm about to go there. Hold on. I got a sports question. I got a pop culture question.
Come on now.
My sports question is:
you
being a mental health expert, tell us the mental health of Jerry Jones. What's going on?
He's an idiot.
Amber, y'all don't know the rule. The rule is you can only talk bad about the Cowboys if you're a fan.
God.
We feel sorry for you at this point, bro. We feel sorry for you.
I am from New York.
Mm-hmm.
Where you go? Are you going? You have to go Buffalo.
No.
Yeah, he did. She can't go Jets or Giants.
Giants? Don't tell nobody. Don't tell nobody else.
I don't even know who worse.
We were just talking because a guy I work with, the office I was at today in Columbia, he's a Cowboys fan, and I said, look, I don't know who's trying to go for the #1 spot, but I guess it's not us now that we got DeVito playing Sunday. So
let me tell you something. I watched that game last night, and it just felt like how back in the day when you were sick and you had to stay home from school. And you watch the stories with your mom and stuff, you fall asleep. That's what it felt like. The stories was on. It was just boring. No kind of entertainment. My second question, Amber, as a mental health expert, what type of mindset you have to have 1,000 baby oils? Freak offs. And all kinds of shenanigans going. What's your mental state going through that, Amber?
Baby boy had a rough childhood.
I'm telling you, man. Toby had it bad.
Yeah.
But seriously, man, how can people get in contact with you, man? You have some great things today. I think it's very helpful. If people can't get in contact with anybody at the Social Security office, how can they get in contact with you if they need help?
My suggestion would be to contact their local vocational rehabilitation office here in South Carolina. If you're in the Midland region, Sumter, Kershaw, Clarendon, Richland, like that region, that's myself, just asked to be scheduled with the benefit specialist in that area. Of course, like I said, we have 5 amazing ladies. We would be more than happy to answer any questions you have. If you're a parent of a minor child who is turning 18 and you're like, do they meet the criteria for Social Security? Should I go through the application process as they're turning 18? What do I do? Absolutely. Just reach out, ask questions. You can even Google search my name. I've got webinars out there. It was kind of funny. I had no idea I was YouTube famous until, and I say YouTube famous because they're on YouTube. I was attending a conference earlier this year for autism. And one of the case managers with an organization, she said, I saw your video on YouTube and it helped me so much. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad to do it. So, because again, it's dispelling the common myths of working while receiving Social Security disability benefits. That's one. And the other one is what to do at 18. So just really taking away that stigma and saying, look, go to work. It's okay. You know, you are more than that piece of paper tells you you are.
Facts.
Indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Amber Lydford. Lydford. Am I pronouncing that right? I don't want to mess up your last name.
Hey,
Amber Lydford.
even a Cowboy fan can say
Amber Alert. That's what we talk. We call you Amber Alert.
That's okay.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining the show. Hey guys, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Keep supporting. You know, hit my girl up. She on social media. She's showing off a new crib. Beautiful crib. Check her out on Facebook. She's showing it all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys. Like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one. Peace.
See ya.
thank you.
Yep.